What's good, BP family? It's your boy Black PoliTech, and today we back with a quick vid on 10 tips on how you can learn to code easily in 2021. So let's get into it. Tip number 1, figure out why you want to code. Why do you want to learn how to code? Is it that you want a new job, you want some money, you just chilling, you just want to learn something, you just oh shoot, I think I'm good at this, I just want to try it out. Figure out why you want to learn how to code, because that's really going to be the thing that helps you push through it and stick with it and continue. Because even though I said 10 tips to learn easily, it's still a challenging thing. It can force you to think in ways that you probably haven't had to on a day-to-day basis. So yeah, I'm just knowing why and always having that clear to yourself and being able to articulate that to yourself is going to be important as you keep fighting through just the short to long journey of learning it and growing in it. Tip number 2, pick an area or focus or domain or niche or whatever you want to call it. Do you want to do web development? Do you want to do app development? Do you want to do game development? Do you want to do embedded systems? Do you want to do machine learning? Do you really just want to do data analysis assisted with Python or any type of programming? So that's another, and this is also just doubling down into my previous point. Figure out what area do you want to go in? Because there's a million and one applications of programming and writing code. So figure out which one you think you're interested in, or just a couple, and kind of go from there, so you kind of know what the bounds and range of what you can do are. Because don't go into it thinking you're going to learn how to do everything and make games and do that. I mean, you can, and just try things out, but it will be very difficult if you just go in setting the expectation for yourself that you're about to learn how to do every single thing, because you're not. Nobody knows how to do every single thing. Tip number 3, pick a language. So there's a whole bunch of programming languages. You may or may not know this yet. There's Python, JavaScript, Ruby, Perl, C++, C, Fortran, a whole bunch, right? And so part of your process is also going to be picking what language you want to start with. So some good beginner languages are typically JavaScript, if you think you see yourself doing that web development kind of realm. Even though JavaScript now is applies to so many things, so that's a good all-purpose language almost. And then you also have Python, which is also a good beginner language to learn, and can be all-purpose. It's very popular for data analysis stuff. But those are 2 I would recommend. One of those 2 in terms of getting started with. So that's also, and then if you are a little bit younger and you want to do something for your kids, maybe scratch coding or things like that, block-based programming languages. Oh, and I want to add that it's also based on your niche too. So if you said you want to do game development and stuff like that, that may also determine what language you kind of want to focus on. So I would still kind of say, start with a Python or start with a JavaScript. But if you're for a fact, game development, then you could take that journey and learning C++. C++ and Unity is very popular tool for that. So you can go that route as well. It's just kind of figuring out what works for you. If you're hey, I'm confident in myself, I know I got this, and you can start with the C++ and the more object-oriented languages. But it's up to you. Tip number 4, identify the best way that you learn. So that can be, you might be somebody that learns well through books, learns well through doing projects, learns well through taking classes, learns well from tutorials. You kind of got to figure out what the best way you learn is. So for me, for example, when I was learning and teaching myself how to code, I was doing tutorials. I was using Udacity. I used I forgot what it's called. It was something HTML, freecode.org. I don't think it was FreeCodeCamp, but it was something freecode.org or something like that. And And that's kind of what I use, and I went back from that, and then between YouTube videos, between reading documentation and all of those things. So I would say like figure out like what is the best way you learn. Like, are you more like you want to see it, or you just want to set the project and do it, and that's going to be it for you? Or you learn better in the class and you want it taught to you in like a, you know, in a more traditional sense. Like, all those are things you kind of have to identify for yourself, but the earlier you can identify it, the quicker and smoother things would be for you. So tip number 5 is utilize different resources. So there's a whole bunch of resources for you to learn how to program. It doesn't have to be this singular thing of like, I only can learn it one way, even though, you know, still pick, you know, the way that's best for you. But you literally have so many resources. Don't feel like it's something you have to do by yourself or alone, because you can find mentors. You can go to hackathons. Like, I competed in a hackathon like 2 years ago at this point, and we ended up placing 3rd. It was my first hackathon, but it was really fun. And like, you learn so much. And that was the first time I used JavaScript because I had to, because we were stuck. Even though I was only trying to do like the AI part of it. So just don't be, you know, there's just like so many resources you can use. You can use YouTubes, you can do boot camps, you can use edX, you can use YouTube, you can use freecodecamp.org, you can use Udemy. There's so many resources. There's even like in certain cities, there's different meetups that you can use. Yeah, I mean, even just on Facebook, like literally, or Facebook or Instagram or Twitter, there's like Black Tech Twitter, and a whole bunch of different resources if you're trying to get into programming. And you can just find a community to do it with you. You don't have to do it all by yourself. You don't have to, it doesn't have to be a lonely experience. And you'll learn way, way faster if you find people to like talk about it and discuss it and like try projects with, than if you were to do it by yourself. Tip number 6, set weekly or monthly goals. So this can be whatever you're given, whatever the style you chose for learning, whatever medium that was or process that was. Kind of figure out what milestones, like what weekly or monthly milestones can you set for yourself. As it could be like if you're using a book, like you want to get through chapter 1 chapter a week, or it doesn't have to be crazy. Like, you don't have to be like, I'm gonna finish the whole book, unless you know, feel like that's a comfortable pace for you. But whatever the pacing is comfortable for you, but just like, what is that weekly or monthly milestone? And probably weekly might be a little more ideal, depending on just like how you stay motivated and how you motivate yourself. But again, totally up to you. But it's just figuring out what's that thing that where you can actually check like from time to time to time to time and be like, okay, like this is the micro goals. So you actually feel like you're making progress and be able to show yourself that you're making progress. Because that's super important to actually sticking with it and learn it, especially if you're not going the if you're not doing the more traditional route of like taking classes. Number 7, apply what you're learning, whatever language that was, whatever niche that was, to things you're interested outside of coding. So that can be like, if you like anime, like think of some anime-based projects that you can do. If you like certain types of games, then like think about what you can do, what projects you can do that relate to those games. If you like music, think about what projects you can do that relate to music. If you're, you're interested in medicine as well, like what kind of health related things you can do. Like one time I built like this, like heart disease detection, machine learning model. So it's like, you can really do whatever you want. And then if you actually apply whatever type of language or programming style that you choose to an area outside of just tech that you're interested in, it'll really accelerate that process, and you'll retain it better because you're directly applying it to something that you're already interested in. And so not only will you get the joy of like, oh, I just like to learn, or like, I know a goal I'm working towards, but you also get the joy of applying it to something you're interested in, which will make it stick a little better. And when you get stuck, and trust me, you're going to get stuck, and you'll be stuck for a day, couple of days, sometimes to weeks. That interest in that thing, in addition to the interest in whatever niche or area of programming that you chose, will be what pushes you and helps you get through that easier than if you're just doing some random project that somebody told you to do, even though you don't care at all about the project. Tip number 8, find somebody to teach you. Okay, so you could say find a mentor, but find somebody that you can teach, that can teach you, ideally, and then maybe even someone that you can teach things back to or bounce ideas off of, because that will definitely accelerate your learning. It's actually something I wish I had more of when I was starting out, because for me, like, I was the only person I knew at the time that was even like interested in it and doing it. So I was like, it was my own journey. But that's just kind of me. Like, I very much like, if I want to learn it, like, I'm going to learn it, and I'm going to get very good at Google. So I'm gonna find whatever I need to learn it. It doesn't matter what it is, doesn't matter who I see doing it, I'm gonna figure it out. But yeah, I definitely would say, like, find somebody, you know, that's like better than you, that can teach you. Another good way is actually, you know, you find somebody that's even interested, even if it's like, y'all the same skill level, y'all just starting out, like, y'all can teach each other. And that's also a good way, because teaching is a great way to learn. Pro tip. Tip number 9, get very, very, very comfortable with problem solving. I can't stress this enough. That is what you will be doing at every single step of your programming journey. Every line of code you write, every variable, every function, every class, everything will be about you solving some type of problem and then instructing the computer on how to execute that solution to the problem. So get very comfortable with problem solving. That is what I'm really going to say. And at some point, you'll realize that even the way you think about things outside of programming will be very much from a problem-solving functional perspective. So it's like breaking things out into steps, identifying what the goals are, all the steps required to meet that goal, and then figuring out how do you execute each step along the way. That's effectively how you write out all the code you do. That's why pseudocode is going to be so important. And literally just like get very comfortable with problem solving and taking that very like linear, intentional, slowed down approach to things. And if you're comfortable with that on the outset, like before we even get into it, learning the code is going to be a breeze for you, because that's literally all you ever do. And no matter what language it is, none of that, the process will be the same in terms of problem solving. All right, we're at tip number 10. It's the last one. Last tip is be patient with yourself. Literally, like, it's gonna be a journey. It's gonna have very tough moments. Like I said, there's gonna be moments where you get stuck for days or weeks, and it's gonna be very, very frustrating, and you're gonna have no idea why. And then when you find out, you'll realize it's because you actually misnamed something, or you left out a dot where there was supposed to be, or you left out a bracket or parenthesis or whatever it was. And it's gonna be something super small, and it'll have you stuck for like a week. Or even worse, you'll find something and you can't even find out, you don't even know why it doesn't work, and the solution you find, they don't even know why it works that way, but it works. And so just be very patient with yourself. You're gonna be frustrated, but never internalize it. Don't think that you're not a person that's capable of programming, or don't think that it's like, oh, I'm just not good enough, or I'm not mathy enough, or I just don't learn fast enough. Like, literally, like, remove all of those negative cognitions. None of them matter. You are just as capable of learning it as anyone else. There's not like a programming person. There's not like you're a good programming person. It's like, no, like, you can learn it just like I can learn it, just like anyone else can learn it. You can learn it at your own pace. There's not a too slow, there's not a too fast. Literally just be patient with yourself and be gracious with yourself. Because when you do that, you'll receive it so much better than you punishing yourself at any time you don't like understand something immediately or just quickly take it on. So, but yeah, that's all, folks. I hope y'all enjoyed the video. Come back with some more. I know it's been a minute. But, you know, it's all love, all good energy. I've accelerated some things in my life, and I'm happy to bring y'all more content, so stay tuned. I'm gonna be bringing it to y'all more consistently. Yeah, and let me know stuff y'all wanna see. I'm also gonna do some political stuff. Watch it if y'all want. But yeah, looking forward to seeing y'all more. Love y'all. Stay good. Peace.